to all the people who registered. So if you missed something, that's okay. You'll have a chance to watch it again. Secondly, if you have questions, a portion of this presentation is going to be dedicated to answering questions at the end. And feel free to go ahead and type them into the questionnaire pane on the right-hand side of your screen whenever you think of them. And when it's time to go ahead and ask questions to Kat, I will go ahead and call them out for you. You can also ask me questions if you have any desire to learn about WeCounselor. You aren't sure what we do. I'm happy to fill in the blanks on that as well. But this is really more so a resource for you as a provider, and that's what we want to do, help you grow your practice and engage your clients and improve engagement with your clients. So without further ado, I am going to turn the reins over to Kat. She is a well-published website builder. Her company is called Empathy Sites. Kat, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so happy to be here and helping everyone with their websites today. So the topic for today is how to get website visitors excited about online counseling. And there are several different components that we'll be going over. Let me see. I love to ask questions during my webinars, so if I ask stuff, feel free to type stuff into the chat as we go and as I ask. Let's see if this is working. It is. So today, there are two things that we're going to be talking about. One is the website essentials of getting people interested and excited about online counseling, and the other component is the content essentials, because it's not just about having features on your website, it's also about writing content that is really targeted and really clear about how you offer online counseling. So let's get into that. But first, I want to also throw out there a quick note about the off-page essentials. So it doesn't help if you have a great, amazing website if no one visits it. So I'm going to quickly kind of go over a few ideas of how to get found and how to get your website seen in the first place. The basic equation is this: get traffic and get clients. But it's not that you just want any old traffic. You want relevant traffic that really already has kind of the intention of looking for online counseling or are open-minded about online counseling. The more intention that your website traffic has for following up with getting an online counseling service, the more clients you're going to get from that traffic source. So that's something that you definitely want to keep in mind. This is my kind of chart that I like to show therapists that are working on their digital marketing strategy. So these are all different ways that you can get traffic to your site. Directories, social media, email lists, referrals, search, word of mouth, paid ads, getting into the media. These are all different ways that you can increase your website's traffic. And that are sources for traffic. So you can kind of think of these as paths to your website. And I wanted to give you some, like, 3 specific ideas on getting that quality traffic to your site that's going to be already primed and interested in an online counseling service. One, of course, is get yourself onto the WeCounsel directory. So when you sign up to be a provider at WeCounsel, you can get a directory, and the directory is already targeting online counseling services. So that means that anyone who's looking for online counseling services will find, has a higher chance of finding you through that directory when they're searching for a solution. And if you, you know, make sure to optimize your profile so that it speaks really to your ideal clients, and you are also aligned geographically, because of course there's some like geographic constraints to where therapists can do therapy. If all of this aligns, they click through your profile to your website, and they will see how awesome your website is, that we're going to further talk about. Another great place to get quality traffic is to do guest blogging. Guest blogging is just where you write content or you provide content to another source of media. And the idea is to go places where your ideal clients for your online counseling services are already hanging out. What are they reading? Where are they hanging out? Who do they look up to? Who are their influencers? Making sure that you are in front of that audience is a really awesome thing. And the other idea is to also put in some time and effort into doing some online networking. So online networking is making an effort to identify and reach out and basically just become friends with people that are potential referral sources. A lot of the times I recommend that you do online networking with other wellness providers, right? So maybe a Reiki person or an energy worker or massage therapy, chiropractors, like who else is in your best fit client's world and also serving them, but they're not doing therapy. But you can also online network with other therapists as well. So that's also something these are 3 ideas, but I would love to know from you, are there any ways that you have been able to get traffic to your site? Now obviously if you don't have a website, you're not going to know yet, but for those of you out there who have a website, are there any trends that you've seen? Are there any ways that people discover your website more than other ways? I know a lot of therapists do like analytics, and so they can actually see like where their traffic is coming from. I'm going to look over to the chat over here. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just going to look at the chat and see if anyone would like to share anything about their traffic coming in. So far, there might be a delay, so I'm just going to give it a few seconds. But this is like one of the really great things about using an analytics software like Google Analytics, or there's a few other ones. Google Analytics is kind of the golden standard of analytics. You can actually track where your traffic is coming from, and a good trick too is like to ask your clients, like maybe during the first session or the intake, ask them, how did you find me? And that type of information can really shape your digital marketing strategy.
Kat, one of our respondents here said insurance company referrals will check out their website. That's from Gregory.
Oh, that's really cool. That's super cool. That's a good source. Okay. So I will, Abby, feel free to like chime in if you see any other comments. I'm going to move on to, let me just click back over here, to the first section that I wanted to also focus on, which is the website essentials. So I kind of broke it down into 4 website features that will make your services both known and easy to get, right? So we want to make it, we want to reduce barriers to them, to any of your websites.
I hate to interrupt you, but we have a really relevant question before we move on. One of our one of our listeners is asking, Kat, how do you sign up for Google Analytics? How do you get that set up?
Okay, so Google Analytics is free. They have a free level, and I believe you just go to analytics.google.com if I'm remembering that correctly. If not, you can also type Google Analytics into the Google search bar, and I'm sure it will be the first result. And you can sign up there for free. You can set up what's called a property. When you set up a property, it creates a Google Analytics dashboard for you, and in order to connect the Google Analytics to your website, there's a small tracking code. It usually starts with a capital U, A, hyphen, and then has like a string of numbers after it. And you take this little code and you have to insert it into your website. Now, depending on the platform that you're using, it'll be different the way that you insert that code, but there should be documentation for, like Squarespace, and there's WordPress. WordPress has like a bunch of plugins that you can use to insert your tracking code and connect everything. So once you get that code into your website, it'll start tracking your website traffic, including things like behavior and referral sources, which is really, really good informative data that you can use to shape your website and your broader digital strategy as well. So I hope that answers that. Of course, keep the questions coming. So yes, let's move on to the website essentials. One thing that is essential to getting your online counseling services out there is having a credible website. And so a lot of therapists don't realize how important this is, and it's actually becomes more important if you're only offering something online, because credibility is what is like the necessary step to establishing trust with your website visitors. I've listed a few things that are known to be important to credibility. One is professional design. Another is professional photos, and I mean both photos of yourself and photos that you just use as visual communication. Also, you need a photo of your office. I should add that in. Another thing that can increase your credibility is testimonials. So testimonials, I know, don't get them from clients, but you can totally get them from other professionals that know you and know of your work and know a little bit about your superpowers, right? So you can have another colleague of yours write a testimonial and make sure you say that they're a therapist and not a client. But yeah, having these outside voices on your website can really boost credibility. And then also have a section, you could also put a section on your homepage with the logos or buttons from where you've been seen, with like different affiliations and certifications and stuff like that. I was also talking to Abby earlier about how WeCounsel is going to be adding, or they already have one for the university, but they're also going to be adding some badges to the WeCounsel profile, which are awesome. Like, it's a great idea to have these types of things, because that means that those that find you through your directory profile will also have kind of that credibility factor in mind. So that really is going to help them be more interested in, also interested in you specifically for providing them with online counseling.
Kat, we have one listener curious. Why is a photo of your office important for an online practice?
Yeah, so a photo is important because it gives it, like, digital stuff is not real to most people. And so, like, having pictures of you, like maybe in your office, or like having a picture of you at your desk, having a picture of you, I mean, obviously not actually on a session, but you in your headphones, or like however you present during a session, those can increase credibility because it makes it real. It makes it like this is a real person, this is a real space that they're sitting in while they're talking to me, versus this kind of impersonal feel of not seeing anything. Actually, the place that I'm getting this data from is, I noted it here, the Stanford Web Credibility Research Project, which you can look up. They actually have a spreadsheet, or like a chart of like 10 different things that are increase credibility based on their research, and it's super interesting. And one is to have a photo of your office or your space or your building, or all of them, but especially also pictures of yourself. So I think, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions to that. The other thing on your website that you need is to list online as a location. So since, again, you're not actually in somebody's space or inviting them into your space when you do the service of online counseling, you want to make it really clear that that's a possible location. So you want to list it as visibly as you would any other location on a therapy website. And so I recommend putting it in the homepage heading, the website footer and the website header, and the contact page. You should also, oh yeah, I gave an example of how you could write a homepage heading. For instance, helping trauma survivors heal, online therapy services for California residents and US expats. or whoever your niche is, you would want to call them out there. This will help people know immediately, like, oh, this is an online therapy service or an online counseling service. And then also backing that up in those other locations around your website as well. Number 3, from a website feature, you also want to offer a clear call to action. And one thing that I recommend that a lot of therapists consider is to offer a free consult call. You can also offer just kind of a schedule now type of call to action, but in most cases it's nice to have the offer of some free time for people to get to know you and see if you're a good fit for them. So offering a free consult call all over your website, I would say at the end of every page, maybe also put it in the footer, definitely spell it out with some details on your contact page. Doing this can really help people feel excited about online counseling because it makes it so accessible. It breaks down that barrier to reaching you. The other thing is WeCounsel is offering some really, really great features that can also connect with your call to action strategy that is on your website. So for instance, WeCounsel has a calendar, so people can instantly, you know, like here's the scenario for you. It's 2 a.m. I just had a fight with my partner and I'm super upset and I'm crying and I'm in tears and I'm like, this is it. I have to find a counselor to help me with my relationship or I'm just gonna like fall to pieces. So, you know, at 2 a.m., I'm not going to be able to pick up the phone and call you, even if I was like interested in using a phone. So like, so this kind of online scheduling feature would allow them to kind of have that instant feeling of like, okay, I'm doing something. Like I can schedule, like, oh, here's their calendar. Let me schedule myself in. So that's like something. I mean, and you know. Most people are in crisis when they reach out to therapists. They're not having the best day of their life, probably. So, you know, it's nice to always offer kind of an easy way for them to take action and to be very clear about what actions are available to them. So if they don't schedule in your scheduler or you're not using a scheduling program or something, you should definitely also offer either secure messaging or calling. WeCounsel also offers HIPAA compliant secure messaging, which is also super cool and also super important to have it be compliant and encrypted and everything, have that level of security and confidentiality for your clients from the first time that they reach out to you. So if that's something that you could also say in your calls to action, like, hey, I also have a secure way that you could just write me a note really quick and I'll return I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Yeah, so having a clear call to action. And then you also certainly want to create a service page for online counseling, like for sure. So either in the primary menu or maybe as a drop-down page from like something that says services. If you're offering like in-person and online, you could just list it as one of your services. For sure, this is like a must do, like no questions about it. So the next portion of this presentation is going to be on the content essentials for those service pages and for a website in general. But before we move on, are there any other questions that have come up? Anything, any ideas, any thoughts about the different types of things that we need on a website? The website essentials were to have a website that's credible, to list online as a location, have a clear call to action, and also have a service page that's dedicated to online therapy or online counseling.
Kat, it doesn't look like we have anyone writing in just yet, but if anyone does come through, I will make sure to let you know.
Cool, awesome. Okay, so we'll move on. There is also I'm also going to be available to answer questions at the end. So if anything comes up, don't worry, you'll have a chance to ask. So what are the content essentials? The content essentials are around creating content that clearly communicates how exciting and beneficial online counseling can be. And I really do want to emphasize that it's important to talk about the benefits. That's one of the most key things to think about anytime that you're writing your therapist website copy, but especially too when you're talking about online counseling, which is something that is not as known. So I should have forwarded that slide already because I started talking about it already. You want to highlight the benefits, right? So you want to highlight the benefits of online therapy. And I've made this list. Perhaps it's not a complete list, we'll see. But here are some ideas of things that you could talk about that are benefits specifically to the online piece of doing online therapy. One is that people have remote access. So that appeals to people that are living in rural areas, travelers, expats. I'm a good example of an expat who did online therapy. I live in Greece. My online therapist lives in California, back where I used to live. So like that certainly appealed to me as someone who I don't speak Greek fluently, but I needed therapy services. So like that's a really good example of you know, if I hadn't had my previous therapist, I would have been online looking for a therapist. And if they had said something like, oh, I help expats, I would have been like, oh my God, that's me. Like they're going to know not only like, you know, English, which is like the necessary part, but they're also going to have to, they're also maybe going to know more about like the expat lifestyle and the expat struggles. So anyway, but that's the case with all of these too. So in addition to highlighting the benefits, it can also be an inspiration for a niche. So the other benefit is that with online therapy, people have access to specializations that they may not have access to locally. So if you have a really deep specialization in something that isn't so common, that can also be something that you can highlight as a benefit. Online therapy also gives access to people with different abilities or mobility challenges, people that can't leave the house for some reason, and that's also for people with like panic or depression or social anxiety that's so much that they can't leave the house. These are also situations that you can say, you know, this is what online therapy can help with. It's also super convenient. Online therapy is super convenient. It saves on travel time. You can go to therapy in your pajamas, which I often did. And you can also offer like maybe more flexible scheduling, right? So like maybe in most cases you wouldn't be in your office at 9 at night doing a session, but maybe like 2 nights a week you're going to open it up for a late night session, and that's going to be super convenient for other people as well. So I also want to invite ideas, like if you have been offering online counseling or you're interested in offering online counseling, did I miss anything? Are there any benefits that online counseling has separately from regular face-to-face counseling that we can add to this list? Anybody? Yeah, cool.
Dad, I don't think we've had anyone type in here, but I do know just from speaking with providers that oftentimes a lot of providers are using this service to kind of salvage missed revenue opportunities. For instance, if I'm having car trouble or can't come into your brick and mortar office, some providers like to use it as a supplement to their in-person practice as well. So you don't have to just be a quote-unquote online counselor. Other providers who do primarily do online counseling, I know many providers who were licensed in one state and they happened to move away from that state but wanted to maintain continuity of care for the clients they were treating. And so this allows them to keep seeing those clients that they develop relationships with because they still have that licensure. So those are just a couple of things that we routinely come across here at We Counsel.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Like before online counseling was more of a thing, I used to travel for my work and I would be gone for like 2 or 3 weeks, and my counselor would just call me on the phone, which was fine, but it would have been so much better to have like a full session, like when I was like, you know, across the country doing something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally cool. Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to another content-related thing that you can use on your website. One thing that I recommend that you do highly is address common concerns. So what does that mean? It means kind of reaching into the mind of a potential client and trying to understand what they might be concerned about that would hold them back from getting online counseling services. I thought of a few. If you have a few more, you can chime in. But one that I know a lot of people may be concerned about, especially if they're like an older generation, is if online therapy or online counseling can really work. So I think one idea that I had for addressing these common concerns is to make like an FAQ. I love FAQ sections. So like this would either be like a separate page with an FAQ, like an online counseling FAQ, or it might be like an FAQ area in the web page itself that's for the service of online therapy or online counseling. And so you would just have like some FAQ items at the bottom and ask these types of questions. Does it really work? Is it safe? And I think also from like, I was speaking to one of my friends who does online therapy with her therapist who's in Australia, and she's also here in Greece, and she was like concerned because she has a small house and she has like friends and people. She had friends? No, she had her sister was visiting or something, and so like kind of also addressing things like practicality issues, like how can I create a space that is secure? How can I, like, you know, how, like, what would you suggest that somebody do? Like maybe just wait for people not to be in the house, like when everyone's at work and school, or is there a way that they can maybe, yeah, like I think that's probably what I would recommend, to be honest. Just wait for the house to be empty so you can just have that like calm Zen place. But yeah, so I mean, you can address these questions however makes sense for you. People often also have questions about insurance, like if their insurance will cover online therapy or not, or if it's going to be like a private pay sort of thing. But yeah, if you have any more ideas of common concerns that you see come up. Oh, I thought I heard you come on.
Oh, well, I think you were just cutting out there for just a second. I know we're pretty far away. If you guys didn't know, Kat is all the way in Greece, so she might be having some internet difficulties. But we do have some people chiming in about benefits to their clients from our last topic. One provider is saying that she's considering reaching out to more rural areas where services are unavailable. And you know, I was letting her know that that is actually part of the mission statement of We Counsel, and that's a really important piece of telehealth in general. Ariel says that she's an expat also, and she is licensed in California, and now she can work again using the We Counsel software. Our visitor Maria here says that she offers web therapy, and it helps the client keep the sessions when they're ill or they can't make it to the office. She says one concern that comes up for her with her clients is that some people think it's too impersonal. Kat, how would you address that?
Impersonal. What do you mean, like not, like to not have that other person in the room directly, like you're looking at a screen instead of at somebody's face?
Yeah, I think maybe that's what she's getting at. We'll wait for her to chat back in, but I do know that we've, you know, heard about this. Many conferences I go to talk on this subject, and I think it really depends on the client, right? So some clients actually are more comfortable talking to you via computer screen than they would be in the room. If you have people that are victims of abuse or experiencing post-traumatic stress, or they have trouble leaving the house, it might be easier for them to talk to the computer screen. So I think it really depends on your audience, and Maria, that's probably a judgment call for you as a provider. You know, is this going to be right for this particular client? And maybe just listening to their thoughts on it is the first step, you know. Shauna here says she addressed common concerns about therapy in general. Yeah, that's a great point, Shauna. She says many people coming onto online therapy have never had regular therapy before. So things like confidentiality, all the things that you would cover in a brick and mortar kind of consultative approach. Do you have any thoughts about that, Kat?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I mean, this presentation is more geared towards like the online counseling service and addressing that kind of addition to your website. But I would certainly say address the common concerns for therapy in general as well. Sometimes, though, you want to be careful not to write like an essay in an FAQ item. So like some things you can, if you want to go deeper into some of these topics, you can always write a blog post. And those blog posts can be used as part of your funnel for attracting people to you and for showing referral sources that you know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So Christopher here brings up a good point and says that you might want to address technology failures, what happens if our video session cuts out, quality questions, what if something gets worse, what if I can't reach you, that kind of stuff. Great point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So I think you also want to think, though, about the journey that a website visitor is on and the information that they need at their point in the journey, if that makes sense. So stuff that has to do, stuff that's highly detailed technical information may not be sales material and may be material that you can expand on later. So always consider like, okay, what is going to help someone reach out to me versus what is something that needs to happen during the first call or the first or be part of my paperwork or something like that. Like maybe you have in your contract like, oh, if there's a storm and there's no electricity, what who is it, a cancellation or is it pay for it, or like you might have some terms in your contracts about that, but that's not necessarily something that is going to sell your clients.
Great point. That's such a good point. We call in the biz, we call that the messaging hierarchy. So there are layers to the message, and when someone's just first visiting your site, they're really just kind of trying to get to know you a little bit, and you're just putting their mind at ease about the very first objections they might have. We have another question from Josephine, and she asked, how do you collect payment from self-pay patients? And Josephine, I don't know if you're signed up for the WeCounsel software. Your name does not look familiar to me, and I know most of our providers, so you may be new. But on the WeCounsel software itself, we have an out-of-pocket billing system that you can use. And when you add a client in the WeCounsel portal, it will ask them to input their credit card information. And it's super simple. You just have to press a button, and it will bill them for the amount of the session. And you can adjust the amount per patient or however it is that you like to do it. If you do a sliding scale, you can do that. If you have set fees, then you can bill them before the session or after the session. So we do offer that as a service. Ariel is asking Kat, her concern is how to handle a session when the internet drops a call and the session is abruptly ended. Oh, that's a great question. I think this is probably more an Abby question, but I'm happy to help with it. Most of our providers always build into their informed consent and their onboarding process a backup plan. So if your backup plan is a phone call, then you should have provided that information to the client prior to starting the session. That way they know what to do. And oftentimes the best place to handle giving them all that information is the informed consent, because you're going to be collecting that and having everyone read and sign that information. As far as our software goes, if someone has a poor internet connection, the first thing that we do is drop out the video so that you can continue the session via phone call. So if you ever happen to be inside of a session and you see it abruptly turn to a black screen, then you know that maybe they could be dropping out very soon, and just to give them instructions on follow-up. I hope I was able to answer that. And sorry for taking over, Kat.
No, that's super interesting to me too, because I feel like my online counselor was not trained as an online counselor. It was like actually my in-person counselor, and I just asked them to do online because I was like, I'm in Greece, I need you. And so we hadn't figured that out, but then like after it happened the first time, we were like, oh, we kind of should like make a plan for this. So like that's really an important thing to have in place, I think. Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, a lot of it, I think the industry is moving towards getting certified as a distance counselor. It's not a requirement for everyone just yet. But we partner with the Telebehavioral Health Institute at telehealth.org, and they really do a good job of training you and helping you to be prepared for all of these weird scenarios that you might not have thought of until you actually start doing online therapy. So I can certainly connect you with the resources, and we also offer a discount for their training courses for the We Counsel members. So let me know if you'd like to know about that stuff, and we'll get you some information.
I'm interested, and I'm not even a therapist. No, it's like a fascinating topic because I love how technology can support people and help people heal. You know, it's like such a gift.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge gift, and it's also something to be aware of, you know, because it's not perfect. There are power lines that run to all of our homes and businesses, and there are internet lines that also carry the signal at a great distance. So sometimes it fails, and you know, we just have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, totally. I love these questions. I love this discussion. So, shall I move on? Let me see. Where am I?
I think we stopped at addressing the common concerns. So now we've covered a lot of common concerns. So.
Yeah. So moving on from common concerns that you should include, one other thing that you can do kind of as like an extra way to address concerns is to share some research-based proof. So it's not like you just have to tell your own, just like make claims with no evidence. You can actually look up a lot of different studies that have been done on online therapy and counseling and how effective it is, because it is effective and it makes a difference to people's lives. I pulled out a few little factoids and things here. One, for instance, said the effects of online psychotherapy outlasted the results of face-to-face counseling. This was a study in Zurich in 2013. Another research study found that online counseling decreased the number of hospital visits among veterans. That was at Johns Hopkins in 2012. And another said that online counseling shows the same level of satisfaction and recovery. And this was in Ontario, Canada. And yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes too much of this kind of researchy kind of stuff it's not good to go overboard with this type of stuff on your website, because let's be honest, your website visitor is more self-interested than interested in research, but they are interested in the research insofar as it proving that this can work. So this might be like a little thing that you could include in one of your FAQs, or it could be like a little like highlighted area on your site that people could choose to kind of dig into if it speaks to them. And it's also going to depend on your niche. Some client groups are going to be more concerned with this, and some are going to be less concerned with this. But it's something that you can definitely consider as content for your online therapy website or service page.
So we have a question, another question from Ariel. Just wanted to grab that before we hit the next page here. And she's asking about insurance reimbursement. So I think we're still on the topic of common concerns. As far as addressing insurance reimbursement and out-of-pocket expenses on your website, I really think that you should make that clear, what you take and what you don't take. Her specific question is, it's my understanding that in California, insurance must cover telehealth. Do I understand this correctly? I think what you may be referring to is called telehealth parity. And what that says is that when insurance, and California does have parity, P-A-R-I-T-Y. And what that means is that where telehealth is reimbursable, then it has to be reimbursed at the same rate as an in-person session for the CPT code that is being leveraged in the billing process. So that means if you're having an individual cognitive behavioral therapy session in person and online, you'll be reimbursed at the same rate. Now, whether or not your contracted payer covers that particular service when it's furnished via telehealth is a different story. The only and best way to find out is to contact your contracted telehealth or your contracted insurance carrier. and they are very happy to provide you with information about whether or not they reimburse for telehealth services. And I can say that there are several major payers that reimburse nationally, no matter what state you're in. Cigna is one of them. Aetna is another one. Blue Cross in many, many states is reimbursing for telehealth, especially behavioral health services. So the best thing to do is contact your payers, ask them if they reimburse, and if they don't give you a straight answer, then submit a claim and just cease. The worst thing that could happen, and that's really the only way to know. So I know people where they were told by their telehealth, by their insurance, a really ambiguous answer about reimbursement, and then they just submitted a claim and they got paid for it. So the ultimate test is to actually submit the claim. Back to you, Kat.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. I hope that the trend is going to continue towards insurance covering telehealth. I mean, it just makes sense, and that would be so awesome. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like at this point you have to do some research.
Yeah, it varies from state to state. Unfortunately, there's no sweeping regulation, but I did recently learn, and I don't know if any of you are aware of this, but I recently learned that there's going to be a summit held by CMS this fall where behavioral health reimbursement is discussed at a federal level. Right now, there's only one CPT code for psychotherapy that's covered under Medicare, and CMS is really wanting to engage the behavioral health providers in discussing how to expand coverage for their services. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I believe I still have the email and the article that talks about this summit, and I'm happy to share it with you if you're interested in learning more.
That's awesome. Progress.
Every day.
So, yeah. Woohoo. So this is actually the last, I think this is the last slide for the content essentials, which is the things that you want to have in your website content. And I saved the best for last. It's to create videos. Now I know from my work with therapists over the years that therapists are not typically not very interested in being on video. It's very vulnerable, it can be scary, you don't know what to say, and then there's like the text stuff that's not that easy to do, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you start doing video as part of your sales and marketing materials. And these are 3 ideas that I came up with that can help specifically with the online counseling piece. One is just an intro video. This could be an intro video if you're an online counselor just for your online counseling practice, or it could just be for you yourself as a counselor that also offers online counseling services. And this video would cover who you help, how you help them, and the benefits that someone could expect from working with you. Keeping it very simple, maybe 2 to 5 minutes, really not a long video. And I think something that I've seen work a lot is people just taking just a simple phone like an iPhone and connecting like a microphone to it, or even using the microphone that's built in. The microphone that's in these is actually pretty good, especially the newer ones. Just finding a quiet place indoors or outdoors and just speaking to the camera. And I totally encourage, like, you don't have to have it be perfect from the first time that you record. You can also practice, like record yourself and then watch it back and then feel awful about it because you're still not comfortable seeing yourself on camera, and then delete it. Like, you don't have to show anyone the first take or the second take, but eventually you can work up to having like an intro video where you're saying, hey, this is who I help, this is how I help them, and this is how you can get the help. So that's the idea behind the intro video. And then you could also do some online counseling specific videos. One could be about online counseling, and you can basically put some of that stuff that we were talking about before into a video format. Who is online counseling for? You know, what are the specific groups that can really benefit from it? What are the specific situations that people might find themselves in that they could benefit from online counseling, and then also the benefits of online counseling in general. So some of those benefits are going to be the same as in-person counseling benefits, but you can also emphasize them in this kind of video format. Another one that you can create if you're feeling like your ideal clients may have some nervousness about this is like the how-tos and what to expect when starting online counseling. So I called this the starting online counseling video. So it kind of, if you have a niche that's very anxious or perhaps not so tech savvy, if they're like an older crowd, they might actually, one of the barriers to them getting online counseling from you might be that they feel nervous about the technology or nervous about what to expect, like, oh, like, you know, I don't know how this is going to work. So you can actually address those types of concerns in a video format. And the benefit of that too is that they actually see you on camera talking to them and explaining things in the same way that they would during a session. So I think that's actually a benefit of all videos, right, is that they get to kind of preview what it's like to see you on screen. And so I highly recommend video. Not related to online counseling, just in general, on any website, video is a proven form of media for increasing your conversion rate, which means the rate at which people will reach out to you. So this is one of the golden types of media that you can use to improve definitely people getting excited about online counseling and people actually reaching out to you. So if there are any questions about that, let me know. Any comments about videos? Actually, this is the end of the let me see here, the end of the website content essentials. So in the content essentials, we were going over that you should highlight the benefits of online therapy and online services, that you should address common concerns, and we had a great conversation about that, that you can also use research, you can quote different studies that have been done, and you can also create videos. So if there's any other...
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, guys, I want to open it up to you. If you have questions for me or Kat about marketing your practice or about WeCounsel in general, let us know. This would be the best time to do that. I do also want to let you know that we at WeCounsel, we do webinars every month. Sometimes we do more than one a month. And the purpose of the webinar is to get you information that you need, whether it's from our team or from an expert like Kat. It's really important that we're addressing your needs and helping you on your journey to building your practice and helping more people. So if you have, if you want to hear more from Kat, please let me know what you'd like her to talk about. If you want to hear about something else, just chat in and let us know what your, you know, what the things are that are important to you, what you'd like to learn about, and how we can be a resource to you. Kat, if someone wants to learn more about your services or find out more about what you do or engage with you on a professional level, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so I am Kat Love, and I founded Empathy Sites, which is a therapist, all-inclusive therapist website solution, which can be found at empathysites.com. On that website, you can reach out to me, and you can also get a free consultation call, and we can talk about your website and making it awesome.
Awesome. Okay, so that's empathysites.com. You can see it on the bottom of your page. We're also going to share these slides and the video with you, everyone who registered for the webinar, so feel free to reach out to Kat after you've gotten those. We'll share those in the next 48 hours. We do have a couple of questions. Maria is wanting to know, where do you suggest they post the videos that they've created that kind of address the questions? I don't think we talked about like positioning on the page, so maybe that could be helpful as well.
Right. So the way that people browse websites is usually, if you can imagine, like the letter F. So, and this is for countries where the language is read from left to right, which is English-speaking countries. So the hot spots are kind of along the top of the page, and then kind of there's like a little F page, yeah, and then a little, and then like down the left side. So if you really want a video to be seen, you need to put it at the top of the page, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, so they look at like the navigation and the logo and stuff that's at the top, but that's kind of like persistent information, so they're not necessarily focused on that. So whatever's right below that logo and navigation is like prime space for anything that's a priority sales material. So I would say put it in the top of a page, and depending on what type of video it is, it'll need to be on a different page. Like an intro video, you may want to put that on a home page. Or if you really want to highlight your online therapy services, you might also put like an about online therapy thing there, or you might work some online therapy like details into an intro video.
Great answer. So Josephine's asking, she says maybe those of us that do counseling in the office maybe start by doing a brief 5-minute test with their client while they're in the office. Josephine, if you're using WeCounsel, if you plan to use WeCounsel, our technical support team will actually do test calls with all of your clients, and there's a link that you can that I actually sent out to all of you just now so that you can see where you would go or what link you would send them. We're happy to help their technology get set up. We'll do a test call with you too, but yeah, I think that's a great idea. More comfortable your client is with the technology, the smoother the session's going to go. Then they'll be able to not worry or have anxiety about if things are going to work or not, and focus on actually getting treatment. So that's a great suggestion. Shauna is actually complimenting Kat. She said Kat designed the most awesome website for her. So.
Oh, yay! Glad you're here.
Yeah, Gregory has said, great ideas, thanks for the presentation. Technical questions, how does he connect WeCounsel to his website? Greg, I believe that I shot you back an answer to this a little while back, but I'm happy to reiterate for everyone listening as well. When you sign up with WeCounsel, you set up your directory or your profile listing. You can access that profile listing by navigating in the top right-hand corner of the page. You'll go to settings. It's up here on the right side. Click on settings and you'll see a bunch of tabs on your screen, and one of those tabs will be public profile. At the very top of that page will be your URL, so you can just copy and paste it from there. You can also preview your profile by clicking on the button that says view my profile, and just grab it from the URL bar at the top as well. You would just copy and paste that URL, and most website hosts or builders like Kat will be able to take that URL and turn it into a button or link it really anywhere. You can link it to text, you can link it to a video, you can link it to a button. But the important thing is that it makes sense and that the button is going to resonate with the people that are visiting your site. So what do you recommend with that, Kat, actually? Like, as far as linking the public profile to their actual site, what would you say is the best way to go about doing that?
You know, I think the best way is what I kind of already went over to a little bit in this presentation, where I was talking about calls to action. So a call to action is when you invite your website visitor to take the next step with you. And so I feel like the WeCounsel features of having that online scheduling feature and also the secure form are great ways to invite somebody to take that next step. And to see and to have it very clear what that next step involves. Like here, like click over to my to my scheduler, and they can like pick something right away. So I think those are the most powerful ways that someone could probably incorporate the WeCounsel environment into their site.
Awesome. Great. So we have another question from Stacy. She says, I am new to WeCounsel and plan to use it for my teleacne practice. I'm a nurse, but not an advanced practice nurse, i.e. a nurse practitioner. My question is, how should I market this service to my potential clients? So I assume you'll be giving some counseling on acne solutions and preventative measures. Kat, have you ever had anyone request a site like this from you?
No, I haven't. I mostly work with psychotherapists. But that said, I feel like a lot of the health and wellness fields have some similarities to them. And I think that in terms of marketing something like that, I would go back to, or maybe I can go back to it right now, kind of go back to thinking about the different ways that people can land on your website. These things are going to be similar. So finding directories where people with acne might be hanging out. I know there's one called like acne.org. There's a forum. There are like people posting all the time. Get active in a forum like that and link back to yourself and post helpful stuff there. Also social media, email lists. It's also going to be really important for you to do networking. So finding complementary, other complementary services to yours, maybe a dermatologist that doesn't want to deal with that counseling piece of the acne, or because I'm not familiar exactly with what you're offering, but yeah, like finding other practitioners and other people that serve people that could definitely be powerful referral sources would be a good place to start with online networking as well.
Cool, awesome. Stacey, I think you also had another question about how to get insurance companies to reimburse your clients for your services. And, well, I mean, I think the first step here is that you have to have the client find out whether or not it's a covered service under their plan. And if you don't want to do the insurance claim submission yourself, you can charge your clients out of pocket. And we actually offer a tool called Superbill that allows you to put all of your provider information, the CPT code and the diagnosis code, inside of the receipt. The client can download that along with the note that you sent them. So that would be either your session note and the treatment plan and any relevant history. And they can take all that information and actually submit a claim to their insurance company themselves. Now, this is not going to be for your technologically unsavvy clients, because it's sometimes a confusing process for them. But if you have clients that are wanting to do that, then we do give you the tools to make it happen. And if you want to know more about that, let me know after the webinar, and I'm happy to get someone in contact with you so they can show you how this feature works. We don't actually have the insurance claim submission tool inside of our portal. We like to focus more so on engagement rather than billing, and facilitating connection rather than billing. But you can leverage your existing insurance claim submission tool in tandem with WeCounsel, or you can have your client use the Superbill to go ahead and get reimbursed themselves. Let's see, we've got more questions, so I'm just reading through them here. Margaret says, is this an appropriate format for an agency is moving into the telehealth field? Margaret, I would love to hear a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish and what your goals are. We're really a consultative approach. I think Kat takes the same approach as well. If you, I can certainly reach out to you and find out exactly what you're trying to accomplish and see how we can make that happen for you. Stacey, sounds like we answered Stacey's question, so that's awesome. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. If you have any last-minute questions, here's the thing. We're probably not going to get to everybody's questions. Anybody that has a question that we didn't answer, we'll make sure to answer it in a follow-up. And I'll give Kat your information so she can email you, because we do have your email addresses when you registered. So we'll make sure to get everyone's questions answered. We're at the full hour here, which is a record. I don't think we've ever gone as long for a 1-hour webinar. So it was really wonderful having you, Kat, and I'll just give you one more opportunity to kind of let everyone know how to contact you. And if, of course, you have any questions, let us know. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Kat, how can people reach out to you if they have any questions for you?
Please come to empathysites.com, or you can also email me directly at kat@empathysites.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.